The Marvels just hit theaters on November the 10th. Is the movie any good? Let's talk about it. My name is Diamond, aka Lady Leo, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you are a returning viewer. I am a lover of nail polish, all things makeup, movies, TV shows, all sorts of things. My hope is that you come to my channel, find something that you like, and hit the subscribe button because I would love to have you. I hope nobody minds that my nail polish, well, part of my nail polish roll is in the background. I didn't feel like putting up a background. Plus, you know, the nail polish is a background. So hopefully you don't mind, but I just didn't put a background up for today. So wanted to talk about The Marvels. I did get a chance to see this movie with my parents, and I wanted to kind of give my thoughts. I am going to try to keep it spoiler free for you as much as possible. If I do go into any spoilers, I'll give you a little warning. So the movie's come out, and what do I think about it? So I just want to start by saying that anytime I see that a movie has a runtime like under 2 hours, especially like a superhero film, whether that be an origin film or somewhere in the second or third entry of that character's story, to me, it's never a good sign. Like when you see a movie with such a short runtime, that's not really a lot of time to be able to set up your villain of the movie, you know, and have that conflict be resolved, or carry on to the next movie or whatever is going to happen. It's just not a lot of time. So I remember seeing some reports from various websites that like the runtime was 1 hour and 45 minutes, and instantly I got nervous because I'm just like, it's not a good sign if it's under 2 hours. And I was hoping that those reports were false. They are not. They are true. The movie is only 1 hour and 45 minutes, and it feels short. Like it goes by so quickly. And I feel like it's a double-edged sword because the movie's not amazing. So like the fact that it goes by quick is great. But somewhere out there in the world, I think there is a better version of this movie that is simultaneously longer and just sort of more put together. I think for me, the movie ends up feeling like a collection of moments, and you have pieces and parts that come together, but they don't feel very cohesive. So I do think because of the movie's like incredibly short runtime, it ends up being pretty disjointed, and it goes by so fast. On top of that, there's not time to get invested in like the big bad, whose name is Dar-Benn, being played by Zawe Ashton, I believe. So what I will say of this character is I think she does the most with what she has. I don't think she's given a lot to work with, and I would love to have seen more from her. Like I would have liked more time dedicated to her because I think she has a little bit of a presence when she plays Dar-Benn, like, and that allows me to sort of like her even though I don't get that much time with her. So I would have liked more of an investment in her. In order to do that, you have to kind of give them a little bit more of a backstory. We just get like a few snippets about her, and honestly she's kind of valid in terms of like what Carol did, but at the same time Carol's valid as well for what happened to her at the hands of the Kree. Anyway, so you have that, and I will say that like Iman Vellani is probably my favorite part of this movie, who plays Miss Marvel, aka Kamala Khan. I think she's just so energetic and excited and happy to be there, and she just gives this great youthful energy, and it's so much fun to watch her. And I love her family too. I don't necessarily think they needed to be in this movie, but I'm sure they were here because people really like them, myself included. But like logistically speaking, it doesn't really make sense that like they're on the sword spaceship, because there's a moment in the movie where Kamala asks Monica, what does sword mean? And she just rattles it off to them, and Nick Fury's like, that's classified. And there's two parts that I was thinking, why? I was like, what? Why would the name of your organization be classified? Like I can understand the organization, like in what you do, but the name being classified? Okay. And if Monica works for SWORD, wouldn't she know that? You know what I mean? She works for SWORD, so doesn't she know that it's classified? But anyway, so, and not only that, Nick Fury tells that to Kamala and her family, and then he simultaneously brings them on his space station. So I can't, maybe Nick Fury has another superpower, getting people security clearances in record time. Speaking of Nick Fury, I love Samuel L. Jackson, but I have two caveats with Nick Fury. One, he doesn't in any way feel like the Nick Fury that's coming off of Secret Invasion, but chronologically, you know, he's just coming off Secret Invasion. But this Nick Fury is, I don't know, he's just tonally different. I do think that like Nick Fury would say some of these things for comedic effect, but I feel like almost all of Samuel L. Jackson's lines are like comedy. Some of them land, some of them don't. But like tonally, he doesn't feel like he's connected to the same Nick Fury that came off of Secret Invasion. And if I'm being wholly honest, I don't really even know why Nick Fury's in the movie. He doesn't add anything to the movie, and for a good chunk of the movie, he's kind of like over here with Kamala's family, and then you have the Marvels themselves in a different place. So I don't know why he's in there. And I think if the movie had lost Samuel L. Jackson, you could make more time for like the Marvels and more time for Dar-Benn. So again, love Samuel L. Jackson. I just don't really think he's needed in this movie, and I don't think he adds anything by being here. So that's my 2 cents about Samuel L. Jackson. I want to shift my focus just to talking about the Marvels themselves a little bit, and focus on Captain Marvel for a second. I still don't feel like they've quite nailed down what they want Carol to be in terms of like her personality. So I think that Brie Larson has a hard time trying to like convey this myriad of emotions because they haven't established like this through line in terms of like, okay, this is how Carol is. I actually liked the first Captain Marvel. I didn't love it originally, but I saw the movie a couple of times after it first came out, and it ended up really growing on me. So I ended up really liking the movie and Brie Larson. I still just don't feel like they've been able to nail down like specifically what they want Carol's personality to be, which is, you know, kind of need to nail that down. Also, there's a big part of me that would have loved the second Captain Marvel to be essentially a Captain Marvel movie. This is actually more of a team movie than it is Captain Marvel's movie. I mean, she's in it and she's a big part of it, but you know, it's not really just solely her movie. And I would have loved to focus in on Carol specifically for her second movie. You know, like she went off to help the Skrulls find a new home, and there's a big time difference between when she left Monica as a little girl and when this story picks up. So I think that's really interesting to pick up with Carol and what she's been doing and what she's come across in that time. And I think this would have been a really great third entry for Captain Marvel as opposed to having it be the second movie, because I don't think we've had a lot of time to develop this deep connection to Carol. She's had one movie on her own, and then she's been featured in a series of cameos. So this would have been like a really good time to sort of help endear us to her, because it would have been her movie, a second solo movie. So now you don't have to worry about setting the scene. You've had her introduction, and now you can really get into the grit of Captain Marvel. So I would have loved if this movie had been solely a Captain Marvel movie, and then like I said, we could have done something like this team up for the third movie. So I think my generalness in terms of this movie, as somebody who is an MCU fan and doesn't really believe that this is the fall of the MCU, I think that any sort of franchise goes through lulls. You know, you have periods of it where you're just like really into it, and ones where you're not as much. Like a lot of people hated Phase 4. I'm not one of those people. I think for me, there's things in the MCU that I like, there's things that I love, and there's things that I don't really care for that much. To me, this movie is sort of mediocre. I don't have this visceral reaction to it like I did like Thor Love and Thunder or Quantumanium, and in the sense that I really dislike both of those movies. I feel like this movie has some interesting elements and some ideas, and it does have a deep sense of fun, but it also is tonally pretty all over the place. The movie itself is all over the place, and I would have liked if we had made some different choices for this film. And who knows what's going to happen to Captain Marvel or Monica, considering where the post-credit scene, sorry, is it the mid-credits? So I guess the first one is the post-credits, the second one's, so I guess the mid-credit scene, who knows what's going to happen with that. So yeah, I mean, I do watch several people that I like to watch in terms of like reviews, like Real Rejects and New Rock Stars and stuff like that, and I do agree with a lot of the critiques that they make. I don't know if I feel like this movie is like god awful. Some people that I like to watch think it's god awful. I'm not in that camp. God awful for me is like Thor: Love and Thunder. This movie is just kind of mediocre for me. Like I could see myself watching a few parts of this because I like the fight scenes. I think the fight scenes where it has the three of them and them swapping places, I think those are fun and I enjoyed watching those. But as a whole, I think the movie is pretty weak. And it's definitely not going to be in any of my top lists for the MCU solo movies or in general. So yeah. So you have a post-credit scene, you have a mid-credit scene. Again, not going to go into any spoilers. These are both setup scenes for other things coming in the MCU. And I feel like we already kind of knew about both of these, but the second one, which is the mid-credits one, is just really fun to like see that play out on screen. And it's funny because when we were in the theater and the credit scene was rolling, there was this guy that was sitting like a couple seats away to my right, and he sort of screamed in excitement, and that was the loudest he'd been the whole movie. Technically, this is after the movie, so I don't think it's a good sign of like the most exciting part of your movie is the mid-credit scene to set up something that we've kind of already knew that was going to be coming, but I guess just like seeing it on screen kind of confirms it. So if you're an MCU fan who follows the MCU, you watch all the shows, you watch all the movies, do you need to go see this one in theaters? I mean, if you want to. It's not like horrible, it's not amazing, so you know, you're not going to come away from this with like the vibes of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which is one of my favorite MCU films. But you know, I think it's worth a watch, and you can kind of make the decision whether or not you think it's bad or terrible or great. You know, everybody is very different and people have very subjective opinions. There's tons of people out there who love Wonder Woman 1984 and the Flash movie. You know, so you never know what people like. But anyway, let me know in the comments below whether or not you guys have seen The Marvels. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you agree with the critiques that it is kind of choppy, but maybe has some fun in there you can have? Let me know in the comments below. You can visit me on all of my socials, and I'll catch you later. Bye!